I used to think my Grandma Aurora was an open book, her life unfurling like the pages of a beloved novel. With her blue eyes like a summer sky and a laugh that danced through the air like the sweetest melody, she had a way of making every story feel warm and inviting. I remember the smell of her lavender perfume mingling with the aroma of freshly baked bread wafting through her cozy kitchen, a sanctuary where the world outside seemed to fade away. She would sit me down at the kitchen table, her gnarled hands gently patting the surface as if to say, "Come closer, dear." Her stories were the golden threads that wove our family together, tales of love, perseverance, and the little miracles of everyday life. Yet, beneath her warm exterior, I sensed shadows, fleeting glimpses of a history she seldom spoke about, a past filled with unspoken sorrows and joys that danced just out of reach. It was only after her passing that I began to understand how complex her life truly was. One rainy afternoon, while I was sorting through her belongings, I found myself drawn to the attic. Dust motes floated in the beams of light that broke through the small window, and the air was thick with memories. It was a place where time seemed to stand still, filled with forgotten treasures and echoes of laughter. As I rummaged through the old wooden boxes, my fingers brushed against something that felt different. It was a small, unassuming box tucked away in a corner, its surface worn but sturdy. I felt a flutter of anticipation as I pried it open, the hinges creaking softly, revealing the treasure inside. There it was, Grandma Aurora's hidden diary. The leather cover was cracked with age, and the faint scent of musty paper enveloped me like a warm hug. I could see the faded ink of her elegant handwriting, delicate and flowing, as if she had poured her soul onto each page. My heart raced as I realized this was not just a diary, it was a portal into her world, a world I had only glimpsed through her stories. As I sat there in the dim light of the attic, I felt a rush of emotions flood over me. Shock mingled with awe. My grandmother, the woman who had always seemed so content and wise, had held secrets so profound that they could alter the very fabric of our family history. The first few entries spoke of her youth, filled with the innocent exuberance of love and laughter, but as I turned the pages, the tone shifted. Words like forbidden, war, and sacrifice leapt off the paper, drawing me deeper into a narrative I had never known existed. With each entry, I felt the weight of her struggles and triumphs, the choices she made in the face of adversity, and the love she fought so hard to protect. It became clear that Grandma Aurora was not merely a figure of nostalgia. She had lived through turbulent times, her heart shaped by both joy and heartache. Her life was a testament to enduring love, a legacy that echoed across generations, a reminder that our stories, no matter how hidden, are worth telling. I could hardly breathe, my fingers trembling as I traced the lines of her words. This discovery felt like unearthing a treasure chest filled with jewels, not of gold or silver, but of memories, emotions, and truths that had been buried beneath the floorboards of time. I knew then that I was holding on to something precious, something that would not only deepen my understanding of Grandma Aurora, but also connect me to the roots of our family tree in a way I had never anticipated. As I closed the diary, a sense of reverent anticipation settled in my heart. I could feel the weight of the secrets it contained, secrets that would take me on a journey through the complexities of love, the sacrifices made in the shadow of war, and the strength required to uphold a legacy. Grandma Aurora had woven her story into the very fabric of our lives, and now it was my turn to unravel it, to embrace the lessons and the love she had hidden beneath the surface. If you would like to walk this path with me, to explore the depths of her heart and the richness of her experiences, I invite you to stay close. There are stories yet to be told, revelations waiting to be uncovered, and a legacy of love that deserves to be shared. Together, let us breathe life into the words she penned so many years ago, and honor the spirit of a woman who taught us that the past, though hidden, always finds a way to resurface and guide us forward. As I turned the delicate pages of my grandmother's diary, the inked words began to breathe life into a world long forgotten, a world that existed beneath the gentle embrace of Willow Creek in the late 1930s. The air was sweet with the scent of wildflowers, and the sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm golden hue upon the fields that danced like waves in the wind. This was a place untouched by the chaos that loomed beyond its borders, a serene haven cradled by rolling hills and the soft murmur of the creek that wound its way through the heart of the town. Young Aurora, with her dark curls tumbling over her shoulders, embodied the very essence of this tranquil life. She spent her days wandering the sun-dappled paths that meandered through the family farm, her bare feet kissing the cool earth as she explored every nook and cranny of her surroundings. The laughter of her siblings, Thomas and Lily, echoed in the air, a melodic backdrop to the simple joys of their childhood. Thomas, always dreaming of the skies, would often gaze up at the clouds, imagining himself soaring among the birds. His aspirations were as boundless as his spirit, and Aurora found herself captivated by his stories of flight, her heart swelling with a mixture of pride and yearning. Lily, the youngest, was a poetic soul, her words weaving magic from the mundane. She would often sit beneath the old oak tree, scribbling verses on scraps of paper, her imagination painting vibrant pictures that transported them all to far-off lands. Aurora would join her, the two of them creating a world where dreams took flight and the impossible became reality. Those moments, filled with shared whispers and giggles, were the threads that stitched their bond together, a tapestry of love and innocence. Evenings were sacred in their home, as the family gathered around the old wooden table for supper, the aroma of freshly baked bread mingling with the sound of laughter and stories. Their parents, farmers with calloused hands and kind smiles, spoke of the day's work and the bounty of the land, their voices rich with warmth and familiarity. Aurora watched them, her heart swelling with a sense of belonging, yet a flicker of something deeper stirred within her. She was a dreamer in a world that seemed content with the simplicity of its rhythms, and sometimes, when the sun dipped below the horizon and the stars began to twinkle overhead, she would gaze into the vastness of the night sky, feeling the pull of distant places and untold stories. It was during one of those starlit evenings that Aurora first felt the whisper of restlessness. Lying on the cool grass, the constellations above seemed to beckon her, each twinkle a promise of adventure. She closed her eyes, allowing herself to drift into a reverie where she was not just Aurora of Willow Creek, but a traveler venturing into the unknown. The thought both thrilled and frightened her. The safety of her home was a comforting blanket, yet the yearning for more tugged insistently at her heart. "Why do you look so far away?" Lily asked one night, her voice soft, breaking the silence that enveloped them. Aurora turned to her sister, the innocence in Lily's eyes a grounding force. "Just thinking," she replied, a smile gracing her lips, "about all the places we could go." Lily's brow furrowed slightly, her understanding of the world still blossoming. "But we have everything here, don't we?" "Everything," Aurora echoed, her voice barely a whisper. Yet, in her heart, she felt the weight of unspoken dreams, a longing for something beyond the fields of corn and the gentle sway of the trees. It was a contradiction that lingered in her thoughts like the fading light of dusk, a delicate balance between contentment and the allure of the unknown. Days melted into months and the seasons changed their hues, painting the landscape with the colors of autumn and the chill of winter. Aurora found solace in the routines of farm life, her hands learning the rhythm of the earth, planting seeds of hope and harvesting the fruits of labor. Yet, amidst the laughter and the love, there was an undercurrent of tension in the world beyond their little town. News of distant conflicts began to seep into their lives, whispered among neighbors at the market and discussed in hushed tones at the dinner table. Aurora absorbed these conversations, her heart heavy with a sense of impending change, a feeling that the peaceful life she cherished was fragile, like the delicate frost that adorned the grass in the early morning light. One crisp afternoon, while helping her mother in the kitchen, Aurora caught a glimpse of her father's furrowed brow as he read the newspaper. The headlines spoke of unrest, of soldiers and battles that felt worlds away, yet somehow too close for comfort. "It's just the world changing," her mother said, brushing her hands on her apron, trying to mask the worry that lingered in the air. Aurora looked up at her mother, searching for reassurance, but she could see the worry etched in the lines of her face. In the quiet moments between chores, Aurora would often retreat to the small nook in their home, a cozy spot filled with books and borrowed dreams. She would lose herself in the pages of stories that took her far from Willow Creek, her imagination painting vivid landscapes of adventure and intrigue. Yet, even as she devoured tales of bravery and romance, a part of her remained tethered to her family, their laughter and the gentle cadence of their lives pulling her back from the precipice of her dreams. The diary revealed these truths slowly, like the unfolding of petals in spring. Aurora's words danced across the pages with a mix of hope and apprehension, capturing the essence of a girl on the brink of womanhood, filled with dreams that seemed both attainable and distant. Her heart, a vessel of love for her family, also carried the weight of unfulfilled desires, a gentle yearning for a life beyond the horizon. The memories flowed through me as I read, each line a thread that connected me to the woman my grandmother once was, and in that moment, I understood that her hidden diary was not just a collection of thoughts, but a testament to the complexities of life, love, and the quiet battles fought in the heart. Aurora's world was one of warmth, laughter, and love, yet beneath the surface lay a current of change, a reminder that even the most serene of lives could be touched by the storms that lurked just beyond the fields of gold. The summer of 1939 arrived with a warmth that wrapped itself around Willow Creek like a familiar quilt. The laughter of children echoed through the fields, and the scent of blooming wildflowers danced in the air. Yet, beneath this serene facade, a sense of disquiet began to seep into the daily rhythms of life. It started with the radio, a crackling voice in the corner of the living room, announcing events from far-off places. At first, the broadcasts felt like distant thunder, barely touching the peace of their little town. But soon, the rumblings of war grew louder, infiltrating conversations at the market and whispered exchanges in the hallways of schools. Aurora sat at the kitchen table early one morning, her fingers tracing the delicate edges of her grandmother's lace tablecloth. Her family bustled around her, each lost in their own thoughts. Thomas, her adventurous brother, leaned eagerly toward the radio, eyes sparkling with the promise of something grand. "This is it, Aurora. Imagine the stories, the adventures waiting for us. I want to see the world beyond Willow Creek," he exclaimed, his voice vibrant with possibility. Her parents, however, exchanged worried glances, the lines of concern etched deeper into their faces. "It's not an adventure, Thomas. It's a war," her mother murmured, her voice trembling slightly. "I don't want to lose you to some distant fight." The weight of those words hung in the air, thick with the fear of losing what they held dear. Aurora felt a stirring within her, a conflict of emotions. There was a flicker of excitement at the thought of adventure, yet an overwhelming sense of dread accompanied it. She had always been the dreamer, crafting tales of knights and distant lands in her mind, but now those dreams felt like they were being overshadowed by a harsh reality. As she peered out the window, watching the world shift around her, she questioned everything she had once believed about safety, justice, and the very fabric of their lives. Days turned into weeks, and the news became increasingly dire. Letters arrived from relatives in faraway places, filled with tales of upheaval and uncertainty. The weight of the world pressed down on Willow Creek, and with it, Aurora felt her own innocence slipping through her fingers. Her heart raced with the knowledge that the life she had always known was teetering on the edge of something vast and unknown. It was during this tumultuous time that Elias appeared in their lives. He arrived one late afternoon, stepping off the train with a posture that spoke of discipline and a gaze that held secrets. The moment Aurora laid eyes on him, she felt an electric charge in the air, a connection that pulled at her heartstrings. He was different from the boys she had grown up with. There was a quiet strength about him, an unspoken burden that lingered just beneath the surface. As he approached the family's farmhouse, his uniform crisp against the golden light of the setting sun, Aurora's breath caught in her throat. He was handsome in a way that felt both familiar and foreign, with dark hair that tousled in the breeze and eyes that seemed to peer into her very soul. She watched as he exchanged pleasantries with her father, his voice low and steady, contrasting sharply with the laughter that usually filled their home. "Elias," he introduced himself, extending a hand, "I'm here to help with the harvest." But there was more in his eyes than just a desire to work. Aurora sensed a longing, a story waiting to be told. In the days that followed, Elias became a fixture in their lives. He would often find himself in the kitchen, sharing stories with her family, yet it was the moments alone with Aurora that ignited a spark between them. They would sit on the porch at dusk, the air thick with the sweet scent of honeysuckle, exchanging glances that held unspoken words. With every laugh, every shared look, Aurora felt a pull toward him that she couldn't quite explain. "What do you think of the war?" she asked one evening, her voice barely above a whisper, as if the question itself could shatter the fragile peace of their surroundings. "It's a necessity for some," he replied, his tone thoughtful. "But for others, it's a nightmare. I wish I could tell you more, but some things are better left unsaid." His eyes flickered with a shadow of pain, and Aurora's heart ached at the thought of the burdens he carried. As the weeks passed, the world outside Willow Creek continued to spiral into chaos. The radio's tone grew increasingly grim, and the whispers at the market became louder, filled with fear and uncertainty. Aurora found herself torn between the safety of her family and the allure of the unknown that Elias represented. She was no longer just a girl dreaming of far-off places. She was a young woman awakening to the harsh realities of life and love. Every time she saw Elias, her heart raced, and yet a nagging fear crept into her thoughts. What secrets did he hold? What path was he on, and how would it intertwine with her own? The weight of these questions bore down on her, mingling with the increasing tension in the air. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the fields, Aurora caught a glimpse of Elias standing by the old oak tree. He seemed lost in thought, staring into the distance as if searching for answers that lay beyond the horizon. She approached him cautiously, her heart pounding in her chest. "Elias," she called softly, breaking the silence. He turned to her, his expression shifting from contemplation to something more vulnerable. "Sometimes I feel like I'm standing on the edge of a precipice," he admitted, his voice heavy with unspoken emotions. "The world is changing, and I don't know what that means for us." As she stood before him, the cool evening breeze wrapping around them, Aurora realized that this moment was a turning point. The innocence of her youth was slipping away, replaced by an awareness of the complexities of love and sacrifice. She wanted to reach out, to bridge the gap between their worlds, but the weight of uncertainty loomed large. "Whatever happens, we will face it together," she whispered, the words spilling from her heart, filled with a determination she hadn't known she possessed. Elias's gaze softened, and for a brief moment, the weight of the world seemed to fade away, leaving only the two of them, suspended in time. But deep down, Aurora felt the truth of the situation. The shadows of war were creeping closer, and with Elias came the promise of both peril and passion. In that moment, she understood that her life was about to change in ways she could never have imagined. The path ahead was uncertain, filled with choices that would shape not only her future, but the legacy of the family she held dear. As the stars began to twinkle above, Aurora took a deep breath, ready to embrace the journey that lay ahead, knowing that love and sacrifice would intertwine in ways that would echo through generations to come. In the quiet corners of Willow Creek, where the trees whispered secrets only the wind could carry, Aurora found solace beneath the old oak tree that had witnessed her childhood dreams. It was here that she first met Elias, their laughter mingling with the rustling leaves, a sweet reminder of innocence in a world that was beginning to darken with the shadows of war. Their meetings, once filled with carefree joy, soon became tinged with an urgency that neither could ignore. As the stars twinkled overhead, Aurora and Elias would steal moments away from prying eyes, sharing whispered hopes and fears. Each encounter deepened the connection that sparked between them, their fingers brushing against each other, igniting something powerful yet tender. Aurora felt an unfamiliar warmth blossom in her chest, a feeling that transcended the innocence of her youth. In Elias's eyes, she saw not just a reflection of her budding love, but a shared understanding of the treachery their world faced. One evening, as dusk painted the sky in hues of lavender and gold, Elias took a deep breath, the weight of his secret pressing upon him like a heavy cloak. "Aurora," he began, his voice trembling slightly, "there's something I must tell you." The seriousness in his tone sent a ripple of concern through her. He paused, collecting his thoughts, and then spoke of his past, how he was once a German scientist, dedicated to advancements that could change the course of the war. Yet, as the reality of the Nazi regime unfolded, he could no longer remain a part of it. "I deserted," he confessed, his gaze steady but vulnerable. "I can't let the very thing I helped create be used to destroy lives. I'm hiding from both sides, and I need to find something, an artifact that could change everything." Aurora's heart raced as he revealed the nature of his mission, a powerful encryption device hidden away by his late mentor, a clockmaker who had woven secrets into the gears of time itself. "It must not fall into the wrong hands," Elias urged, desperation lacing his words. "If it does, it could lead to unimaginable suffering." In that moment, Aurora felt the ground beneath her shift. She was no longer just a witness to the world's turmoil. She was standing at the precipice of something monumental. The war was no longer a distant threat. It had seeped into her life, into her heart, and into the soul of the man she had come to love. As days passed, the tension in Willow Creek thickened. The once peaceful town now felt suffocated by an invisible weight. Rumors of Nazi agents disguised as civilians began to weave through the community, sowing seeds of suspicion and fear. Aurora glimpsed the strangers lurking at the edges of town, their eyes scanning the streets, seeking something or someone. Her heart ached with the knowledge that Elias was the very person they might be hunting. Late at night, as she scribbled in her diary, Aurora poured out her fears onto the pages. "What if they find him?" she wrote, the ink blurring with tears. "What if my love puts my family in danger? I feel torn between my desire to protect them and the man who has ignited a fire in my heart." The diary became her confidant, a vessel for her conflicted emotions, capturing the essence of her transformation from a sheltered girl to a woman grappling with the weight of the world around her. One rainy afternoon, as the patter of droplets created a rhythm of uncertainty, Elias returned to her with newfound determination. "I think I've deciphered the clues left by my mentor," he said, his eyes alight with a fierce hope. "There's a labyrinth beneath the old church, a place where the artifact was hidden long ago." Aurora's heart raced at the thought of venturing into the unknown. "But it's dangerous," she cautioned, gripping his hands tightly. "What if they catch us?" Elias smiled gently, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "We must act quickly. If we don't secure it, it may be too late for both of us." In that moment, Aurora understood that she could no longer remain an observer. She had to step into the narrative of her own life, to fight not just for their love, but for the hope of a future untainted by the darkness encroaching upon them. The next day, they met in the shadow of the old church, the air thick with anticipation. The stone walls loomed like sentinels, guarding secrets of the past. Together, they descended into the labyrinth, the flickering light of a lantern casting dancing shadows on the damp stone walls. Each step echoed with the weight of their mission, a heartbeat of determination resonating in the stillness. As they navigated the maze, Aurora felt the pulse of history surrounding them, the ghosts of those who had come before whispering their stories. The deeper they ventured, the more she understood the sacrifices that had paved the way for their love. This was not just a quest for an artifact, it was a fight for humanity, for love, and for the promise of a better tomorrow. Suddenly, the air shifted and they froze, hearing footsteps above them. Aurora's heart raced as she exchanged a glance with Elias, the gravity of their situation pressing down on them. "They're here," he whispered, urgency lacing his voice. The danger felt tangible, creeping closer with every heartbeat. In that moment, Aurora's resolve crystallized. She would not let fear dictate her life. "We must find it, Elias," she urged, her voice steady despite the turmoil around them. "We can do this together." As they pressed on, a sense of purpose surged within Aurora, a fierce courage rising to the surface. She was no longer just the girl longing for adventure. She was a woman ready to face the storms of war, driven by love and the hope of a brighter future. With every step deeper into the labyrinth, Aurora realized that the secrets they uncovered were not merely about the artifact, but about themselves. The journey was shaping her, molding her into someone who could confront the darkness and emerge stronger, not just for herself, but for the love she held dear. She would protect Elias, and in doing so, she would protect the very essence of their shared dreams, woven together in a world that sought to tear them apart. And as they moved through the shadows, the weight of her family's legacy mingled with the promise of a new beginning, urging her forward into the unknown. For within the heart of the labyrinth, beneath the echoes of history, lay a chance to forge a destiny not just for themselves, but for all those who dared to dream of peace amid the chaos. The air in the hidden chamber felt thick with history, as if the very stones were whispering secrets of ages past. Aurora and Elias stood at the entrance, their breaths mingling with the musty scent of damp earth and time. Flickering shadows danced along the walls, cast by the candle Elias had carefully lit, illuminating the intricate carvings that adorned the stone. Each one told a story, each curve a reminder of the ingenuity that had led them here. "Can you feel it, Aurora?" Elias whispered, a note of awe in his voice. "This place is alive with purpose." She nodded, her heart racing as they stepped further into the depths. The tension was palpable, an electric charge that both thrilled and terrified her. As they moved deeper, the faint sound of dripping water echoed like a heartbeat, a reminder of the urgency pressing upon them. The artifact lay somewhere within these walls, a cryptic puzzle waiting to be solved. Elias knelt by a series of gears embedded in the stone floor, a mechanical trap laid by his mentor, the clockmaker. "This is it," he said, his fingers deftly tracing the patterns. "We must align the mechanisms perfectly, otherwise, we might not get a second chance." Aurora watched him, a mixture of admiration and fear swirling within her. She leaned closer, her fingers brushing against his as they worked together, the clockmaker's intricate designs challenging their resolve. The sound of their hurried breaths mingled with the soft ticking of time, a reminder that every second counted. But just as the last gear clicked into place, a noise shattered their fragile moment. The heavy thud of boots echoed through the labyrinth, sending a chill racing down Aurora's spine. "Elias," she gasped, the realization hitting her like a wave. "They've found us." Before they could react, the chamber door burst open, revealing a group of Nazi agents, their faces shadowed, but their intentions clear. Panic surged through Aurora, but she felt Elias's hand grip her shoulder, steady and firm. "We can't let them have it. You must leave with the artifact." "No, I won't leave you," she cried, her voice rising above the encroaching chaos. "It's our only chance," he insisted, urgency lighting his eyes. "Trust me, Aurora. Remember what we talked about, your strength. Use it." As the agents advanced, the air thickened with tension. Aurora's heart pounded painfully in her chest, each beat a reminder that time was slipping away. Adrenaline surged through her veins, sharpening her senses as she recalled the maze of the labyrinth. "This way," she shouted, grabbing Elias's hand as they darted into the shadows. The chamber erupted into chaos. Shots rang out, ricocheting off the stone walls, drowning out their frantic movements. Aurora led the way, her mind racing as she navigated the twists and turns, the labyrinth feeling both familiar and foreign. She could feel Elias behind her, his presence a steady anchor despite the uncertainty of their fate. But just as they reached a narrow passage, a sharp cry pierced the air. Aurora turned, her heart sinking as she saw Elias stumble, clutching his side. "No, Elias," she screamed, rushing back to him, but he raised a hand, his face pale and strained. "Get the artifact," he gasped, his voice barely above a whisper. "You have to, I can't leave you," she cried, tears blurring her vision. "Listen to me," he urged, his eyes locking onto hers, fierce and unwavering even in the midst of chaos. This is what it means to fight for something greater. You have to carry on. For us. In that moment, time seemed to slow. Aurora felt the weight of his words settle upon her, the realization of what was at stake. She reached into her pocket, her fingers brushing against the cool metal of the artifact. "I won't let it fall into their hands," she promised, her voice breaking. With a sudden determination, she pressed the artifact into his hands, her heart aching with the knowledge of what it meant. "You have to keep it safe, Elias. I can't do this without you." He shook his head, a bittersweet smile touching his lips. "You're stronger than you know, Aurora. Now go." The agents were closing in, their shouts echoing through the passage. Aurora's heart shattered as she turned to flee, the sound of Elias's voice trailing behind her, a haunting melody of love and sacrifice. "I'll find you. I promise." She called back, though she knew deep down that the world had shifted irrevocably. As she darted through the labyrinth, the walls seemed to close in around her, the weight of her fear and grief pressing heavily on her chest. Each step felt heavier than the last, the reality of what she was leaving behind settling like a stone in her heart. She could still hear the chaos behind her, the shouts and the gunfire, but she pressed on, driven by a fierce resolve to survive. Finally, she burst into the cool night air, the moon a pale sentinel watching over her escape. She stumbled away from the church, her heart racing as she clutched the artifact to her chest. The weight of her loss crashed over her in waves, a tidal force pulling her under. In the days that followed, Aurora's world shifted. She found solace in her diary, writing through the grief that threatened to consume her. The pages filled with her pain and her purpose, each word a tether to the love she had lost and the legacy she now carried. Elias's sacrifice became the foundation of her resolve. She poured her heart into every letter, every word a testament to their shared dreams and the fight for a better world. And with each entry, she began to understand. She was not just a survivor, she was a warrior, forged in love and bathed in loss. The artifact, once a mere object, transformed into a symbol of hope, a promise that she would carry forward the fight they had begun together. Aurora knew she would honor Elias not just in memory, but in action, her heart forever entwined with his in the dance of love and sacrifice. Aurora stumbled through the labyrinth, her heart pounding in her chest, adrenaline coursing through her veins, each breath a reminder of the chaos she had escaped. The cold stone walls felt like they were closing in, but she pushed forward, her shoes scraping against the rough ground, the darkness behind her chasing her into the light. As she finally emerged into the fading daylight, the weight of the world crashed down upon her. Home was a distant concept, a place she could not yet grasp. She stood at the threshold, bruised and changed, her heart heavy with the absence of Elias. The world outside continued its mundane rhythm, but within her, silence roared. The shock settled like a stone in her stomach, each pulse a reminder of the void he had left behind. She avoided mirrors, fearing the reflection of a woman who had lost everything. The slightest sound of her name made her flinch, as if it were a foreign language. Memories flooded her mind, Elias's laughter, the warmth of his hand in hers. The plans they had woven together now lay in ruins. She felt exposed, stripped of the armor that had once shielded her from the cruelty of the world. In the solitude of her room, she found solace in the diary, a sacred space where she could pour her pain without the burden of pretense. The pages welcomed her grief, absorbing her sorrow in raw, broken lines. The ink was smeared with tears, the words jagged and unfinished, each entry a testament to her heartache. She wrote of the moments they shared, the laughter that echoed in the shadows, the dreams that now felt like distant echoes. Outside, her family grieved, but none could fathom the depth of her loss. They spoke of Elias as if he had simply stepped away, their sanitized version of reality a veil over the truth. He had not died in an accident. He had sacrificed himself for her, for a cause greater than they could understand. In the quiet of her heart, she seethed with a rage that could not be voiced. How could they not see? How could they not feel the chasm that had opened beneath her feet? Every day, Aurora put on a mask, a facade of sorrow that barely scratched the surface. She became an actress in her own life, playing a role that was both familiar and foreign. The burden of secrecy weighed heavily on her shoulders, the artifact hidden beneath the floorboards, a silent guardian of Elias's legacy. She felt its presence, reminder of the world beyond her grief, a connection to the man who had believed in her strength. As the days turned into weeks, Aurora began to see the world differently. Shadows danced in the corners of her vision, whispers of a reality she had yet to grasp. Trust became a fragile thread, fraying at the edges as she navigated her new existence. The loss of Elias had shifted something within her, igniting a spark that flickered in the darkness. One evening, as she sat surrounded by silence, she stumbled upon Elias's notes, crumpled papers filled with ideas and theories, remnants of his tireless pursuit of knowledge. Among them, she found a coded entry, its meaning elusive yet tantalizing. It was a key to a door she had not yet dared to open, a glimpse of the man he had been even as shadows closed in around him. Hope stirred within her, fragile but persistent. She could almost hear his voice, urging her to keep searching, to find the answers hidden beneath layers of pain. This was not revenge she sought. It was purpose, a reason to rise from the ashes of her despair. With newfound determination, Aurora ventured to the local library, a dusty sanctuary filled with the scent of aged books and forgotten stories. She wandered through the aisles, fingers trailing over the spines, searching for the knowledge that would lead her closer to understanding the artifact and the world it represented. Each book was a potential lifeline, a way to navigate the uncharted territory of her grief and the legacy she now carried. In the evenings, she would sneak into Elias's old room, the air thick with memories. There, among his maps and papers, she began to piece together the fragments of his life, each discovery a step toward reclaiming her own. The pain remained, a constant ache in her chest, but alongside it, resolve began to take shape. The journey ahead was uncertain, fraught with danger and shadows, but Aurora was no longer adrift. She was a woman transformed by loss, her heart heavy yet determined, carrying both the artifact and the spirit of Elias within her. The silence of his absence would no longer define her. Instead, it would fuel her resolve to honor his memory. She would not forget him, nor would she allow his sacrifice to fade into the darkness. With each passing day, she took a step forward, not just into the unknown, but into the essence of who she was meant to become. Aurora was awakening to a new reality, one where grief was intertwined with purpose, and in that space, she found the flicker of hope that would guide her through the shadows. Aurora stood at the edge of Willow Creek, the familiar landscapes of her childhood fading into the distance. The memories of laughter, love, and the warmth of Elias still lingered in her heart, but they were now intertwined with a heavy sorrow that propelled her forward. She had made the decision to leave, to seek a place where the shadows of her past could no longer reach her. In the bustling streets of the city, she hoped to find anonymity, a sanctuary where she could transform her grief into something powerful, something that would honor Elias's memory. The first few days in the new city felt surreal. The tall buildings loomed like silent sentinels, and the cacophony of life surrounded her, a stark contrast to the quietude of Willow Creek. Aurora rented a small room in a modest boarding house, the walls thin enough to hear her neighbors' whispers and footsteps. It was in this humble space that she began to unravel the complexities of her new life. With Elias's diary as her guide, she immersed herself in the study of the artifact he had left behind. It was not just a mere object, it was a key to understanding the world around her, a tool that held the potential to change the course of history. Days turned into weeks, and Aurora became a familiar figure in the local library. She often spent hours poring over books, her fingers tracing the spines of volumes that spoke of codes and ciphers, of wars waged in silence. The librarians knew her by name, recognizing the fierce determination in her eyes. Each night, she would return to her room, exhausted yet exhilarated, scribbling notes in her own journal, a reflection of her learning and a testament to her resolve. The loneliness of her existence was a bitter pill to swallow, but each line she wrote was infused with Elias's spirit, urging her to press on. As Aurora delved deeper into the secrets of the artifact, she began to understand its true power. It was not merely an encryption device, but a sophisticated intelligence tool capable of deciphering enemy codes and anticipating their moves. The realization ignited a fire within her. She was not just a grieving widow. She was now a guardian of something profound, something that could tip the scales of fate. Aurora took to practicing her skills in secret, honing her abilities to observe and remain unseen. She watched people in the streets, listening for snippets of conversation that could provide insight into the world of espionage swirling around her. One afternoon, while seated in a bustling cafe, she overheard two men discussing a recent shipment of weapons meant for the Nazis. Her heart raced as she discreetly jotted down their words, piecing together fragments of information that would prove invaluable. The thrill of gathering intelligence surged through her veins, a reminder that she was not powerless. She was learning, adapting, and becoming something more than she had ever imagined. Yet, amidst the excitement, a shadow loomed over her budding confidence. The threat of the Nazis was ever present, a dark cloud that followed her every move. Late one evening, as she returned to her room, Aurora felt the weight of eyes upon her. The streetlights flickered, casting long shadows that danced along the pavement. She quickened her pace, her heart pounding in her chest. A figure loomed at the edge of her vision, and her instincts kicked in. She ducked into an alley, pressing her back against the cool, rough brick wall. The figure passed by, their silhouette indistinct but undeniably menacing. Aurora held her breath, knowing that her mission was not without peril. Every day was a game of survival, a delicate dance between knowledge and danger. Weeks slipped by, and Aurora's mastery over the artifact grew. She learned to decode messages, her fingers deftly maneuvering the intricate mechanisms that Elias had meticulously crafted. Each successful deciphering was a triumph, a testament to her resilience. She had transformed her grief into a shield, an armor against the pain that threatened to consume her. Yet, the emotional toll was undeniable. Nights were often spent in quiet reflection, the silence amplifying her solitude. But in that stillness, she would often hear Elias's voice, gentle and encouraging, reminding her of the love that had fueled her journey. One rainy afternoon, as the city streets glistened with droplets, Aurora found herself in a hidden nook of the library, surrounded by stacks of books on espionage. She felt a sense of belonging in the world of secrets, a far cry from the life she once knew. The librarian approached her, a knowing smile gracing her lips. "You've been working hard, haven't you?" she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. Aurora nodded, her heart filled with gratitude. The librarian understood the weight of her burden, the silent sacrifice she had chosen to bear. But the world outside was changing, and the danger was becoming more pronounced. Rumors of Nazi operatives searching for the artifact reached her ears, whispered in hushed tones among the patrons at the library. Aurora knew she had to remain vigilant. One evening, while she was decoding a particularly challenging message, the hairs on the back of her neck stood on end. She sensed a presence, an unsettling awareness that she was not alone. Her heart raced as she peered out of her window, spotting a shadowy figure loitering across the street. The fear that had once been a distant echo now roared to life within her. With renewed determination, Aurora resolved to protect the artifact at all costs. The memories of Elias, the love they had shared, and the sacrifices made for a greater cause fueled her resolve. She was no longer just a woman mourning her husband. She was a force to be reckoned with, a self-taught spy navigating the treacherous waters of a world rife with danger. As the city buzzed with life outside her window, she felt a flicker of hope amidst the darkness. Aurora was not just surviving, she was thriving, growing stronger with each passing day, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As the war dragged on, Aurora found herself entrenched in a world of whispers and shadows, where every piece of information held the potential to change the tide of battle. The artifact, once merely a reminder of her lost love, became a beacon of hope and strategy in the hands of someone who understood its weight. With each message she deciphered, each coded transmission she relayed, Aurora felt a sense of purpose that had long eluded her. She became a guardian of secrets, using the knowledge gleaned from Elias's work to outmaneuver the enemy at every turn. There were nights when the air was thick with tension, when the stakes felt impossibly high. Aurora would huddle over her makeshift desk, the dim light flickering as she pored over the pages of the diary. Each entry was a lifeline, a connection to Elias, guiding her through the labyrinth of espionage. The thrill of thwarting enemy plans surged through her veins, mingling with the fear of being discovered. Yet, as victories came, small but significant, she realized that her sacrifices bore fruit. The Allies gained ground, inching ever closer to liberation, and with each triumph, Aurora felt a flicker of hope. Then came the day when the news broke: the war was over. The announcement echoed through the streets, a chorus of disbelief and joy. Aurora stood frozen for a moment, the weight of it all crashing over her. Relief washed over her like a warm tide, but it was accompanied by an ache that lingered in the corners of her heart. The struggle had taken so much, and the ghosts of those lost would forever haunt her. Yet, she knew that her work had mattered. The artifact, once a burden, had transformed into a cherished relic, a symbol of love, sacrifice, and the indomitable human spirit. In the aftermath of war, Aurora chose to return to the simplicity of Willow Creek. It was a place that held the echoes of her past, where the air was fragrant with blooming flowers and the river flowed like a gentle reminder of time's passage. She settled into a modest home, adorned with memories but stripped of the shadows that had once consumed her. Aurora found fulfillment in helping others, those who had been touched by the ravages of conflict. She volunteered at community centers, offering education and support to those in need, sharing her heart with those who sought solace. As the years passed, Aurora transformed into the warm, wise grandmother known to so many. Children flocked to her, drawn by her gentle nature and the stories she wove with the threads of her past. She became a beacon of serenity, her laughter echoing like music through the halls of her home. The artifact, now lovingly kept inside a delicate music box, played a soft tune that spoke of love and loss, of courage and hope. It was a treasure she showed only to those she trusted, a testament to the extraordinary life she had led. With each story she shared, Aurora infused her grandchildren with the spirit of resilience that had defined her journey. They would sit at her feet, their eyes wide with wonder, as she recounted tales of bravery and sacrifice. The diary, filled with secrets and codes, became a source of inspiration, a reminder that, even in the darkest of times, light could break through. Her wisdom resonated in their hearts, guiding them as they faced their own challenges. The passage of time did little to dim the brilliance of her spirit. Aurora's home became a sanctuary, filled with laughter, love, and the occasional bittersweet remembrance of the past. She found joy in each moment, embracing the beauty of simplicity. The world had changed, and so had she. What once felt like a weight now served as a reminder of her strength, the courage to forge ahead despite the scars left by war. As the narrator, reflecting on these memories, a profound realization dawned. Beneath the surface of Aurora's seemingly simple life lay extraordinary depths. The courage she displayed, the sacrifices made, and the love that endured through it all shaped not just her existence, but the lives of those she touched. The lessons she imparted were steeped in the richness of her experiences, a legacy woven into the fabric of her family. The music box remained a cherished relic, a connection to the past that Aurora embraced without reservation. It whispered tales of Elias and the love that had fueled her resolve. In her heart, she carried not only the memory of loss, but also the knowledge that love could transcend time and space, leaving an indelible mark on the world. As the narrator reflects on Aurora's life, it becomes clear that the journey of a woman once shrouded in grief had blossomed into one of purpose and light. The war had ended, but the lessons learned and the love shared continued to echo through generations. Aurora, the wise grandmother, had become a living testament to resilience, a guardian of truth, and a source of unwavering strength. The legacy of her extraordinary past whispered through her stories, reminding all who listened that, even in the wake of sorrow, hope could flourish and love would always prevail. Sitting in the quiet corner of my room, I opened the weathered diary that once belonged to Grandma Aurora, its pages yellowed with age, but filled with the vibrant echoes of a life fully lived. Each word felt like a thread connecting me to her, pulling me deeper into the heart of her experiences. As I read, I began to see not just the events of her life, but the very essence of her spirit. This diary, once a mere collection of memories and musings, transformed before my eyes into a map that unveiled the intricate landscape of her soul. I recalled the stories she told me as a child, tales steeped in fantasy and adventure. At the time, they seemed like whimsical narratives, flights of fancy meant to entertain. But now, as I traced the lines of her words, I realized those stories were laced with profound truths. The brave princesses, the loyal knights, and the resilient peasants were not just characters in a story, they were reflections of Aurora herself. Her courage in the face of adversity, her unwavering love for her family, and her relentless pursuit of hope during the darkest of times shimmered through those tales. Each story became a metaphor for her journey, revealing the quiet strength that defined her legacy. I turned the pages with reverence, absorbing the lessons hidden within her struggles. Aurora's life was not a simple narrative, it was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. She faced loss, heartache, and the relentless weight of war, yet she emerged with a heart full of compassion and wisdom. Her sacrifices were not mere footnotes in history, they were the very fabric of her being. As I read about her moments of despair and triumph, I couldn't help but draw parallels to my own life. In her struggles, I saw reflections of my own challenges, the fears and doubts that have whispered in my ear throughout the years. With every entry, I felt a profound connection to her, as if she was guiding me through my own trials. Her diary was not just a record of her past, it was a source of inspiration, a reminder that the legacy of love and courage she left behind was now a part of me. I understood that her strength wasn't only meant for her to bear, it was a gift she passed down to me, empowering me to face my own fears with grace and resilience. As I pondered the significance of her words, I realized that the true essence of her legacy lay not in the secrets she kept or the artifacts she collected. It resided in the love she shared, the wisdom embedded in her stories, and the warmth that enveloped our family gatherings. Aurora taught me that life is woven from the myriad experiences we encounter, both joyous and painful, and it is through sharing these stories that we honor those who came before us. The more I delved into her diary, the more I found pieces of her heart spilled across the pages. It was as if I were sitting beside her once again, hearing her voice softly narrate her memories. I could almost smell the lingering scent of her favorite lavender, feel the warmth of her embrace, and hear the gentle cadence of her laughter. Each entry was infused with her spirit, a reminder that she was never truly gone. She lives on in the lessons she imparted, in the stories she shared, and in the love she nurtured within our family. With newfound clarity, I understood the importance of uncovering, honoring, and sharing our hidden stories. Just as Aurora had woven her life into the fabric of our family, we, too, must embrace our narratives and pass them on. I felt a sense of peace wash over me, a gentle catharsis that came from recognizing the depth of her journey and its impact on my own life. The diary became more than just a historical account, it was a treasured guide, illuminating my path as I navigated my own challenges. As I closed the diary, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Aurora's life had reshaped my understanding of love, courage, and resilience. Her story wasn't just a relic of the past, it was a living testament to the power of the human spirit. I promised myself to carry forward her legacy, to share her wisdom with my own children, and to remind them of the strength that flows through our veins, inherited from generations past. In that quiet corner of my room, surrounded by the echoes of her life, I found clarity and purpose. I understood that our stories, like Aurora's, are the threads that connect us all, weaving a rich tapestry of shared experiences and enduring love. As I ventured forth into the world, I carried with me the whispers of her wisdom, the strength of her spirit, and the knowledge that, even in the face of adversity, love prevails. Aurora's journey had come full circle, and in it, I found not only my grandmother's legacy, but also the light to guide my own path. In the quiet corners of Willow Creek, where the whispers of the past blend seamlessly with the laughter of the present, lies the essence of Grandma Aurora's life. Her journey was not just marked by the shadows of sorrow, but illuminated by the fierce light of love and resilience. Through her hidden diary, we catch glimpses of a woman who faced unimaginable loss yet emerged with a heart full of courage. Each entry was a testament to her unwavering spirit, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, hope can flourish. Aurora's story teaches us about the sacrifices made out of love, the quiet strength that resides in the heart of every caregiver, and the powerful legacy we leave behind. Her determination to protect what was dear to her, even when faced with the ravages of war and the pain of separation, speaks volumes about the human spirit's capacity to endure. It is this resilience that we must carry forward, not just as a tribute to her life, but as a guiding principle in our own. If Aurora's story has touched your heart, then it has fulfilled its purpose. Stories like hers remind us that we are never alone in our struggles. They are the threads that connect us all. They echo through generations, inviting us to listen, reflect, and share. In holding Aurora's diary, her granddaughter found not just tales of fantasy, but reflections of her own courage and love, affirming that these qualities are indeed timeless. As we gather the strength from Aurora's experiences, let us also commit to sharing our own stories. They are the lanterns that light the way for others, illuminating the path of understanding and compassion. If you found inspiration in Aurora's life, please leave a like. Your support is a way of honoring her legacy. Subscribe to our channel to continue hearing stories that resonate with the heart and reflect the human experience. We invite you to share your thoughts below, as every comment enriches our community and fosters deeper connections among us. Now, as we reflect on the hidden gems of wisdom tucked away in Aurora's diary, I pose a question to you. What secret do you believe Grandma Aurora held closest to her heart? Consider the moments in your own life that shaped you, the stories you carry, and the love that binds us all. Each of us holds a universe of experiences within, waiting to be shared and celebrated. Let us honor Aurora by weaving her spirit into our lives, embracing the courage she embodied, and nurturing the love she imparted. Together, we can ensure that her legacy lives on, inspiring generations to come in their own journeys of resilience and hope.